Welcome to another episode of Geek-Men and the Masters of the Thunder Nerds. I'm Dustin.
I am Bo.
Yeah, and so we're going to be going through the lens with creators Leo and Tom tonight.
Yeah, we're doing a late show.
Yeah, it's super late, but it's early for them.
So if your pants are off, either way, you should be good.
Yeah, I mean,
feel free. Well, I guess ours are always off, but
yeah.
Let's bring.
I didn't know we were supposed to wear pants.
Yeah. Welcome guys. Leo and Tom.
Hey guys.
Hiya.
So excited to have you on. I've been looking forward to this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You guys have been busy.
Extremely
all
busy.
The travel. Well, I guess if anybody, Leo, I want to say, Leo, have you been on our show before, or is it just that we've talked so many times online that it's?
Yeah, I think it's
long-time
just that we've talked.
It's probably okay. It's probably because I've been on your show.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. So introduce us. Who the hell are you guys?
Go for it, Tom.
We are the kind of co-writers and directors of Searching for VeslemØY, a true crime mockumentary, farcical, dark comedy, which had its US premiere a few months ago in the town of Winchester, in just outside of Washington.
Let me throw that up because I'm so proud of you guys. Because Leo had dropped the news. He's like, "Yeah, we're coming to the States." And I was like, "Oh, cool. What's going on?" He's like, "Well, we're doing the premiere at Alamo Drafthouse." Just nonchalant. I'm like, "I'm sorry, what?" and he's like, "Yeah, is that a big deal?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's a big deal, yeah." Right. Alamo Drafthouse. Those are a big deal here.
It was really funny. The first time we saw it, I'd wanted to go off to like a gun shop just in the middle of the sticks in Virginia. So I convinced Leo to drive back. Then on the way back, we're like, "Oh, we're driving past that cinema where the movie's going to be." We pulled off the motorway, and we both just got out the car and that was like a cinematic moment. We're just like, "It's fucking massive!" We're just blown away by the size of the place.
Yeah.
So what? So it's got. I've talked to people who have had, it's a big deal. Like when you're an indie filmmaker, the biggest moment that you work toward is actually seeing it on a big screen.
Yeah.
And which doesn't always happen, but you guys are fortunate enough. Not only did it happen, you're at Alamo Drafthouse. What was that experience like? Seeing it on the big screen here.
It was awesome. I think that this film, I'd been to a festival before where they'd shown burnt portraits, and that one being so personal, like my whole face went really hot, and I thought I was having a fever, and it was horrible in a nice way, I guess. But with this one, it's so stupid, like willfully silly, that I was just enjoying the fact that it was showing at all,
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was just like, will Americans find this funny? Like, will Americans think this is cool? Will they get what we're trying to do? Will this audience understand what we're trying to kind of satirize? And just will people actually laugh out loud, or will they just kind of sit in silence through all the jokes? But it got a really good reception.
Yeah.
The night before, there was we're getting kind of little. You start to remember little lines that might be controversial that at the time of recording. So there's a bit when I go I'm talking to an alternative medicine woman, and I say kind of maybe this would work in America because they're all fucking mental anyway, kind of Scientology and all that shit. And when we recorded that, we're sat in the middle of Stavanger, just kind of messing about, and then you suddenly I'm actually in America now with Americans who may or may not be heavily armed, You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm about to like say that they're all fucking mental. Right?
Well,
That's a good point.
But we survived. Bless them.
yeah, it was. I will say, Leo sent me an early cut, just to get my opinion, and I was not expecting that. I was fucking blown away by how funny it was, especially the chemistry between you two, because you two end up like almost a buddy cop relationship for like the third act of the movie, and it's really funny.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play the I want to play the trailers. People get an idea.
Yeah.
Of like what we're talking about here.
Cool.
If it'll unstick.
I think you have to play.
Oh, please, because it's sticking on my end for some reason.
That was working earlier.
I broke it, Leo. I'm sorry.
There you go.
We're losing ticket sales right now.
But on the picture it was black and white. This one's green and white. Tragically, a girl called VeslemØy went missing. Why does God allow this sort of thing to happen? My name's William Fair, and this was it. Is that too close? Can you look at the camera instead of looking at me when I do the outro, and stop bobbing your foot? We've already tracked down some of Veslemöy's friends.
Hello? Do you want to do it like this?
Some of Veslemöy's family.
This bit,
For my missing daughter.
Some of Veslemöy's old school chums.
Go? Nobody knows.
We've even talked to the people who were there on the night that Veslemøy went missing.
My mind is telling my finger to move up and down.
She came back 2 months later with tentacle arms and gave birth to a dog.
Ozan,
Du kan jo ikke norsk, skjønner du.
I
Kom
don't
igjen,
know.
si det med meg, Veslemøy. Kom igjen, si det med meg.
Veslemøy.
Nei, kom igjen.
Don't touch me face.
Nei.
I don't want you to touch me face.
What is it?
Has anyone got a wet wipe or a anti-bac or something? I swear, part of her hand went in my mouth.
I have that. The guitar scene is what is not only one of the funniest improv bits I've ever seen. Like in any, I'm talking all the time because I found out the whole thing was improv. You were interviewing a woman about her dead daughter, and then you proceed to pick up a guitar and make up a song about her dead daughter on the spot. And it is one of the most uncomfortably funny things I've ever seen.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, you got to please tell, like, what was going through your mind when you were filming that scene? Like, because Leo said you just kind of eyeballed the guitar, like you just spotted it that day.
Yeah, I mean, what I was trying to do was to kind of show the character, like my character, who's the documentary maker. He's meant to kind of not really give a shit about the case at all. Like he doesn't care about this woman's pain. He doesn't care about the fact that her daughter's missing. He doesn't give a shit. He's only in it for the fame of being a great documentary maker. And it's kind of how do you show the audience that in like in a funny way without just telling them, you know, without going super kind of what's the word? Not exponential, but
expositional.
Yeah, expositional. Like not just telling them, the audience directly, this guy doesn't care. So I had some different ideas. Like one of them was that I was going to have brought some food with me and said, "Do you mind if I like have something to eat while we're interviewing you?" And just have a massive bag of Doritos or something, and just. And instead of playing the guitar, every time she's giving us an answer, just start kind of obnoxiously eating them. But then I thought the guitar was like a step above that, even, or like more surreal in a way.
Yeah, if I haven't seen the final cut, I'm assuming it's still in there. But you see this point where the light bulb goes off on over your head, It's like you swap the guitar and you're like, you just like, hey, can I borrow that? And it's just, oh man, that's where you had me. That's where I was like, oh yeah, this movie's fucking great. I love it.
But we didn't know that she had a guitar. Like when we went there to replace, Tom was like, oh, that's a nice guitar. And I think you picked up and played it a bit. And we were like, all right, let's use that.
Yeah. And what was genuine about it was like I didn't make up the song or make up any of the little riffs or something. So kind of while she was talking, I'm genuinely in the scene. Like, what am I going to sing? What am I going to say? Like, what's this song going to be like? And I am actually like thinking over that.
It lends to it too, because the funny part is you can see you're completely like walled her off at this point. You're like, fuck, I gotta, what is, you're like tuning out, you're thinking everything while she's just sitting there grieving.
Yeah.
But like, when I was watching it, I was like, I wasn't laughing, I was amazed. I was like, oh my God, this is brilliant. And I was like, I hope to God nobody burst out laughing. And I can't believe they didn't. Because there was 3 other people in the room.
Yeah.
I'm so glad they didn't.
I would have ruined that take.
Yeah.
So you guys, I'm assuming you knew writing the script and everything that you're going to go in. There's going to be a good amount of improv on the spot. What is the process for writing something that you know firsthand? We're going to do a lot of this on set. We don't know exactly how it's going to go. Well,
you would both be familiar with it, I think, like, because it's basically like an underdeveloped piece of writing, and you get a bunch of notes of everything that has to happen in each scene in order, and then you don't flesh it out because the fleshing part is done on set. So it's just like a bare bones list of things that need to happen. It was like Act 1, introduce the character, fact find. Act 2, well, I'm not going to reveal the rest, but you know,
yeah,
very simple.
And we did do some kind of tests, because I was like, it was I've had tiny little cameo parts or been an extra in things before, but I've never been a kind of a leading man, and I've tried to be funny on camera. So we did a few little tests where it was kind of like, in my head, I'm like a big fan of people like especially Alan Partridge, or some British shows called Brass Eye or The Day to Day that you might not have seen. You might have seen Alan Partridge, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I thought if I'm just interviewing somebody, but kind of going on like a bit of a dick and a bit of a pervert, or being a bit homophobic, like, will that come across as funny? Or will it just seem like I'm being a dick? Like, and it's, you know, it's a fine line.
Yeah.
So we did a few tests, and especially the one with Sam in the library, where I'm interviewing the actor about the play that he was in. After I watched that back, everyone was kind of like super complimentary, just kind of like, what, like, that's brilliant, do more. And I say everybody, it was like 4 or 5 people, but that's enough for me. That's all I need.
Oh, the first day. Sorry, go for it.
No, please.
Yeah, no, the first day that we did that, like, everyone felt horrible. It's the first time we'd ever seen it, and we were just like, God, this is so uncomfortable. And we got used to it. I think then once we got used to it, we enjoyed the idea of inflicting these scenes upon other people, I think.
It's like Sacha Baron Cohen. It's you have to mentally separate the act, the act that's going on from the actor and what's going on, and just once it's clear that you know you're just portraying a fictional character, that's when it becomes fun.
Yeah.
What also was brilliant, especially on the first day, or just sometimes when it was people's first days on set, was that the sound man and the cameraman are actually characters in the movie. So to help me get into character, like as soon as we said action, I would start like being really obnoxious to the cameraman, saying like, "Is this a 3/4 shot? Like, is me head in shot? Like, can you see me here? Can can you see the microphone, or is that hidden? And I'd start shouting at them really obnoxiously. And especially on the first day, there was some people on set who were just kind of like, is this part of it? Is this like, why is Tom acting like this? Like, what's he doing? And it really freaked people out. And I would see Leo behind the camera going like, no, this is part of it. This is part of it.
Is this not what you came for?
Yeah, we're working with people who are using their spare time for free on this, and I was like, I don't want you to feel like it's for an audience to feel uncomfortable. You shouldn't,
Yeah, we should start. The core of this film comes from you guys have a film club, which you have the classes are online on YouTube. I believe I have the links in the description. Please go check out the channel. But just go about the the genesis of that.
So I started it in summer of 2019 because I'd come back to Stavanger. I didn't know many people, and I was looking at like clubs that were available. And I'd been in Stavanger for a long time, and so I was looking, and it was just like, oh, I don't personally want to play these board games with people I don't know, or I don't want to go wine tasting. I don't drink. So then I was just like, oh, is that it? Like, can I not do anything? And then I was like, wait. This is just like adults having decided to do a thing. So, Leo, you're also an adult. If there's a thing you would like to do, maybe you should do it, So I thought, I want to make films, but I didn't know how. So then I looked up online, and they were like, okay, you can make a film with your iPhone, you can edit it with your laptop. So that's what I did. And then I just gradually, Justin was in the first thing I made. Actually, both of you were.
Yeah.
You both did audio.
Oh,
for
yeah, the voiceover.
rejection one.
Yeah.
So you both did audio for the me reading rejection emails that I'd gotten. And so I started showing this to people. And I was like, look, this is what I can make. Can you help me make something better? I think after about a year of that, Tom joined when we were making Truth in It Apocalypse.
Yeah.
And I think I was showing clips of that and getting some audio from him for that. And loads of music that he gave in the end. And then we would just meet up and we took it from there. So by the time we got to VeslemØy, it was Christmas, and it was the same process I'd done with Truth in It. I was just like, who's interested in what? Who's available? What do you feel like doing? And Tom was like, oh, can we do a mockumentary? Can I be the star? And I was like, yes, please stop me recording myself all the time. I would love for somebody new to be the star of something. So that was the start of it.
Yeah, Tom, you have a background in film, a history in film. Like, what culture about the film club and?
So my back, I did like the classic. Went to university and did it was a kind of TV related degree, or it was meant for making factual television. I worked in music videos for a little while, just because it was more creative and interesting. But it was one of these. I think one of the worst things that can happen to you is if you have a kind of quite a high ambition, and you manage to achieve it, and you manage to get to where you want to be, and then as soon as you're there, you're kind of like, this is shit. This isn't. This is. I don't like this. And that was, I'm from Newcastle in the north of England, and I moved down to London, and got a job working on television and started editing TV shows and started working on TV shows, and I just hated it. I could not stand it. The stuff I was making, most of my colleagues, it was just awful. So then I quit for years. I used to make little things on the side here and there, but I certainly had no ambition to send things into film festivals. But I was a musician at the same time, and I had been making in my basement loads of music, just kind of synth-based ambient music, guitar-based music, blues, all kinds of stuff. So I just had this hard drive full of music, and I would play it for people, and they'd be kind of like, so what are you going to do with all this? And I was like, I don't know. And then when I saw there was a film club, I turned up to the film club just to say, like, does anyone want some free music, some royalty-free music? And I thought that would be enough for me if someone's made some cool little independent short films and my music's in it. So that's all I really turned up for. And then when I saw what they were actually making, I was then kind of got inspired to be kind of I like this zero budget, do it in your spare time, don't worry about the quality kind of attitude. And Leo had this kind of, because I joined, like, it was at least a year after they'd actually started the club. Leo had already had this kind of little crew set up, and yeah, as Leo explained, we just took it from there.
Well, what was the point where, unless it's too personal, but what was the point where you recognized, like, oh, I don't want to be doing this?
Oh, I think just well, it was very different back then. I'm about to turn 42, so this is going back about 20 years, and I think it was kind of working in post-production and just seeing that being an editor or being an editor's assistant or being a cameraman, it really is just a job. You know, you have very little creative input, and no one's really interested in your ideas, especially in television. So if you're working on like a big budget kind of a series or kind of factual program, like you've probably seen Top Gear, the car show. So when you're editing something like that, it's like just to a formula, you know, and it's already decided, and you feel like you're working in admin or something, like working in a payroll department, even though you're actually editing video, and it's so competitive. There's so many people want to do it, that the wages are just really, really low. They're just catastrophically low, and most of the people who kind of last the longest in the industry are often from upper middle class families, and they're more supported by their parents than supported by their own income.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, in America, I've you know, I keep up with the news, and there was a big thing about unpaid internships in law firms and in Hollywood as well. And that's one of the things that keeps you know, working class people out of certain industries. The fact that to get started in those industries, you've got to have some sort of private financial backing, really. You know, if you had to live in New York for 6 months on an unpaid internship, where does the money come from, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Well, I was curious because some people, they don't even recognize that they, you know, that moment, or worse, they do recognize it and they're too afraid to break away from it.
Yeah. I mean, like I think I've always been good at quitting stuff, you know. Like, you know, I mean, I met that's a cool story, actually. I met a guy called Nigel Horn. I've tried looking him up, but he's actually quite hard to find. But he'd worked on some really cool stuff. So he might be. He was about 50 when I met him, and that was 20 years ago. So he's going to be old now. But he worked on like Full Metal Jacket. He'd worked on Star Wars.
I feel like I know that name.
I think he'd worked on part of the special effects for Jurassic Park. But throughout the late 70s and throughout the 80s, his CV was just sick. It was like a CV that anyone would like kill for. And he was living in a council house in Epsom, you know. In between, like now and again, he would have had 6 months in between projects where he was on the dole. You know, he was on, you know, unemployment benefits. So he would have those gaps. And then even when he was working jobs, he was getting paid maybe like a little bit more than a teacher might earn. And he was, what was he on Full Metal Jacket? I think he was like the neg cutter in post-production, and it was his first kind of big break or something like that. But a neg cutter, it's just a job. There's no glamour to it. He met Kubrick throughout the making of Full Metal Jacket. But you know, just because you meet Kubrick doesn't mean someone cuts you a check for £1 million.
Yeah.
Do you know,
That's what I heard.
And I thought that, so the best possibility for my career, if I do work on loads of cool films, I'll still end up being that guy, you know. Like
it's so interesting, like hearing all of this, because like when people see what we're doing in the club, they're like, oh, this has serious potential. What you should do is start at the bottom of this ladder where you have to wait 6 months for them to maybe give you funding for a short film, so that maybe in 10 years, the guys at the very top will give you like $1 million budget or something. And it's like, every time somebody comes to me with this opportunity or this potential pipeline, it's like trying to avoid being in a cult. You know, it's like, why don't you spend decades constantly vying for these people's approval to maybe get the chance to do the thing you're doing constantly now? Like,
Yeah.
And then like maybe they'll let you send it to festivals. You're like, we're working like we work so constantly on this stuff that we're getting really good at it very fast, I think, or I see people improving loads just through the practice of doing it all the time. So I think if anyone's, our attitude is if you are genuinely serious about this stuff, then just keep doing it. You know?
Yeah. I heard Ben Mendelsohn, he talked about the whole hierarchy of film. He said he's done a lot of independent low budget movies, and then all of a sudden, you know, he's in Star Wars Rogue One, and he's just like, oh, I can't wait to get on the set of this. It's going to be, I've never done anything this big. He says he's on set. It's the exact same thing as any other indie level movie. You got these certain people and these people and these people, and everybody acts the same. It's just the amount of money being flown about.
Yeah.
So yeah, the tenacity. Where do you find the tenacity to keep going in a system that's structured the way it is?
I can, like, at least on my part, answer that we began with the passion for like the joy of making the thing and letting the thing exist. And I think that from years of submitting to magazines, as you guys will know, like you can't keep writing if you're waiting for somebody to tell you that you're great at it. That won't sustain you. It won't sustain you if you're getting big publications or not. You know, I've had a few publications where like I'll read interviews with people and they'll be like, "It was when I got in there that my career took off," and I'm like, "All right, I got in there." It's like, when does it take off? You know, you can't wait for that. You can't. I think it's being behind the lens of it, behind the scenes of it, being on the other side and seeing what people submit and talking to so many other people and seeing what motivates them. Even if they're getting big publications and stuff, they're just a bunch of people in the house living a normal life, you know. So it's making stuff for the joy of making it and not expecting it to take you anywhere. And so that's, I think, what frustrates me with what other people try to keep pitching me is like, this could really go somewhere, and I'm like, I'm not motivated by the potential to go somewhere. I like, it took me forever to get here. I'll just stay here. I don't know.
Yeah, I think once the kind of I think the big motivating factors for people to work in the film industry, if they're really honest, it's kind of fame and wealth. I think they want like the recognition and respect, and then they want they'd like to be rich as well. And I think once neither of those things are kind of like your motivations anymore. So I don't want to be super famous anymore. There was a time when I probably did when I was younger, definitely.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm no billionaire, but I'm more than happy with the amount of money I have right now. So that's not a motivating factor anymore. No, that's bollocks. Actually, I'd like a bit more money if I could get it. But,
but just a bit more.
Just a bit more. There's always a little bit more. Just a little bit more. But no, like once you take away those two major things as being kind of the main motivations for doing something, you then almost feel a lot more freedom. And I'm kind of, I mean, often when I'm writing something, I have like an audience of, you know, 5 people, which are the people who are going to be helping me make the thing. And that's who I'm, you know, as long as they think it's good, genuinely think it's good, whatever I've asked them to help me make for nothing, then I feel like I've kind of done my job. And that's it, really.
I think that like making things that way directly influences the product as well. Like I think when we're like, Veselməy was the only thing people kept telling us nicely that there was nothing else like it at the moment, and I think it's because this is it seems to be quite a unique way of making things, and it was having this type of motivation directly influences the type of content that we make, I think, and the quality of what we make is the most important thing to me. So if having this attitude is improving that, then I'll keep it, you know.
Yeah. So now that you've got a few films behind you, where do you find? Because at this point, there's a lot of trust involved with the people you work with, and especially on an improv movie. How do you go about, you know, building solid relationships within your circles, the people that you can trust?
Good question. Tom, do you want to go first?
I think it is a good question, and I think I've never put too much thought into that, but I think I'll always persevere to be super honest with everybody. So, you know, super honest about what I'm trying to make and what we'll probably achieve. So there's a thing that I've just finished shooting now, and it's only about an hour long. It's a kind of very broken narrative. It's not like a clean beginning, middle, and end story. It's a kind of snapshot of one night on Earth, kind of, with 5 or 6 characters. And I was asking everyone to take a bit of a chance with what I was trying to do. But I just kind of, I mean, I did pitch it to them as like, hey, wouldn't this be cool? Wouldn't it be cool to see a movie like this? And we've got this character and we've got that character, and you could be that person and you could be that person. And it won't be laugh out loud funny. It'll be more just kind of weird and a bit creepy. And quickly everybody was kind of interested in like, oh, I worked with Tom before. Like, I'm only asking them for like 5 or 6 hours of their time. All the actors just needed to do it for like one day, not even a day, like a quarter of a day. So I set the bar very low for their involvement. And yeah, I think going forward, that's just what we're going to keep doing, just being super honest with everybody.
It's really nice to convert some people over to what we do, really, because like I say, people will come to me and they'll just be like, I think that we should approach this in a very professional way and make a whole bunch of spreadsheets and have meetings for half a year. And I'm like, I think the opposite of that. I think we should film tomorrow. And then like some people have worked on professional film sets and stuff, And luckily they were. I was like, oh, how was that experience? I mean, I've never been on one. What's it like? And then one of my friends was just like, okay, you know, they've got a bunch of cameras. There's people in front of it, and I just thought we could do that. I was like, yeah, I know. That's what I always thought. But yeah, I think I've noticed that. I mean, for me, a lot of my stuff is very personal. And I take it very seriously. I just try and keep that to myself, really, because people on my set are having fun. They're messing about, and they're like making friends. And you know, if they mess up the lens, it doesn't matter too much as long as I get close enough to what was in the script. As long as it has the same impression as what I said, or, you know, it's even better if they put it in their own words. So yeah, it's making sure that other people are always having a good time, because that's all I can guarantee them is a good time today making this thing. I can't guarantee them that they're going to win an Oscar or anything like that. But I can guarantee them that they can have a good time today. So I've got to make sure that they're having that. I, as a director, am usually quite stressed, and I have to keep everyone on a plan of stuff that we have to do, and everyone's like just having a lovely chat, and incidentally we'll make a film, you know. But for me, it's the main motivator. So it's balancing that disparity in motivations, I think. Just making sure everyone's having fun.
Well, considering the speed at which, you know, all this software, and, you know, with the whole phase changing from people wanting to watch things directly at home as opposed to going to a theater, where do you see filmmaking as a whole in, say, 5 years, maybe?
I mean, for my part, I think the real golden age of cinema, that started dying out, I don't know, in the late 90s, early 2000s. I feel like maybe that's just me personally, but I just felt less and less and less inclined to actually go to the cinema. In terms of, me and Leo had a conversation about this the other day. We talked about if you wanted to go and make a movie that was kind of high enough quality to be on at the cinema, like me and Leo have been making, like how much money, what's the least amount of money you could make, you would need to do that, like start to finish and deliver the product complete. And we figured that it was probably under $10,000 for, or if you really wanted to push it, maybe under $5,000. Just if you were happy to sit and wait for rendering times to be like 18 hours and stuff. So 20 or 30 years ago, the minimum was probably $200,000 or $300,000 to go and buy all the equipment you needed and to make a film and deliver it. So as a kind of gateway, or as a roadblock or whatever, the amount of money you actually need has just dropped exponentially. And then if the software and other things make it even easier, then all the better. And I never really see it as a threat to kind of things like that are on at the cinema now, which is either like a superhero movie, or a movie with a children's movie with like a CGI puppy dog, or another children's movie with another CGI puppy dog, only slightly cuter. And yeah, that's like that's it really.
It's a really good point. I think that we're like we're just doing our own thing, and people want to constantly involve it in the system or make sense of it within existing systems, and it's just a thing off to the side. Yeah, it's filmmaking, I suppose, in the same way that like we're all people. I don't know. Yeah. It's not that relevant a category. So yeah, I was watching. You guys must have seen those Charlie's Angels films. We just watched them again, the ones from the early 2000s.
I've seen the first one.
Oh my god, they're incredible. Like, you can't do that without an enormous budget. And I was just watching all this money going across the screen.
You just saw dollar signs.
Yeah, all these costumes and stuff. And I was just amazed by it, and at the same time, I was watching it, going, "I will never direct something that makes that much, that costs that much," and I'm fine with it, because I think that what we are constantly proving, and what we'll prove with Bo's film, because Bo gave us a film to make in August when Sam's here, if all goes well.
I keep forgetting about it, and it's not because I don't want to obsess about it. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. But it's like, it's about creativity first and foremost, and thanks, as Tom said, to the money barrier being as low as possible, and hopefully even lower in future, the focus can remain on that, on the creativity.
Yeah.
Well, do you think, are you guys a product of your time, or do you think 10 years ago you would still be trying to make films, considering what you just said?
I think I would have still been trying. I was still trying to make films. I was still trying to make music videos and little documentaries, and I think that was always the ambition. But I don't think. I don't think. Yeah. I think what we're doing right now. I think we're. Yeah, we probably are productive with time. Because I didn't have I didn't think that I was able to do what we're doing now 10 years ago. I don't think about this stuff much, but it's a really good question.
I'm sorry. I can start at if I don't mean to like boil your brains or anything. I'm just so curious to pick the brains of people who are like actively doing things. You know, it's inspiring.
Yeah,
I don't look back much. I don't look back much because it's like kind of, I don't know. I don't kind of analyze what I've been doing much. It's always on to the next. Like,
it's interesting. It's the kind of question that someone might want to ask about you, but that you might never think about yourself. You know, I find that a really interesting dynamic when it comes to filmmaking, because lots of people will come to the film and say, like, what. Yes, but like in the writing stage, they'll ask, what is the theme, and like, where will the symbolism be? And I'm like, this is actually the domain of film criticism, which is a completely different thing. It's the same as writing, like metaphor and symbolism, and it's something you maybe never think about when you're writing, but it might be something that somebody thinks about when reading your writing. So it strikes me as that kind of thing. I just bought the DVD of Tiny Furniture, Lena Dunham's first film that came out 10 years ago. And she used a Canon camera to make that. I think if I'd seen that around the time, maybe I might have gotten around to doing it. But I mean, that cost lots of money. So I don't know. I think everything happens at the right time is a good attitude for it, you know, because I don't think that the stuff I would make 10 years ago would have been as good. I didn't have the same life experience. I definitely didn't. I think the challenge of organizing a group of people would have been too much for me 10 years ago. Taking on that responsibility, showing something to the world and saying, like, you're this, you know, you can think of this what you will, you know, this is available for your criticism. That something as a 24-year-old I would have found too uncomfortable, I think.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, it's so what do you guys look forward to now in the hopes, because nobody actively seeks to, you know, search for that fear of plateauing, but where do you see yourselves going with this to just remain as cheery and optimistic as you are about making films now? Like, what's the goal set to stay that way, if at all possible? Like, some people can't sustain that. You know what I mean?
I mean, right now for me, that's not really a challenge. Like, I think as long as every idea that Leo comes up with, I'm kind of like, oh, that's quite interesting. Like, like that's something I would like to see, or that's something I haven't seen before. And as long as Leo thinks the same about the ideas that I come up with, then as long as that's kind of that dynamic's like solid, then it's not really a challenge.
As long as you have one of those in the future to think about, then by the time you've done that one, you'll think of the next.
Yeah. And there's I get kind of we went on a cabin trip a few months ago to a little cabin on another island here in Norway, and for my kids I bought like a trail cam, like a wildlife camera, and set it up on the side of the cabin, and we got some deers going back and forward. And I was like, that's really cool that there's some deers walking past the house every day. And my next thought was like, that's creepy as fuck. Like just the way it looks on like night vision, and like a deer's eyes being these glowing white pixels. And I was like, okay, we're gonna have to make a horror movie featuring trail cameras now. Like, and then the cogs start turning. I do some more research about this island. It turns out there was like lots of inbred families there. I was like, okay, that's great. I'm gonna have some inbreeding there. Turns out that one of the families there used to own slaves, which I didn't realize was a big thing in Norway, like slave trading and ownership. But one of the rich families on this island was involved in that. And then there was this case of one of the richest families on this island about 100 years ago. They had something like 8 children, and within a 6 month period of each other, like 7 of the children either went missing or committed suicide. And I was like, okay, there's so much kind of source material here to dig into.
Right.
Like, so sometimes the horror just writes itself,
Right. I didn't know Norway had a South Carolina of its own, but that's nice to hear.
Mate, yeah, you'd be surprised.
That's the thing I found so weird. Is like somebody said to me, like, you know how there's the South in the US? I was like, yeah. But like, if you go south in Norway, same thing. And I'm like, what's going on with that polar direction?
Well, the closer you get to the equator.
But yeah, I mean, but they've like kind of seen that Southern American culture and got fully invested in it. Like kind of cowboy hats, country music, line dancing, Confederate flags, like Dukes of Hazzard cars, muscle cars.
Wow.
They're like they're fully into it. But it's almost like they're cosplaying. But it's like, people in their 50s and 60s who don't know what cosplaying is. So it's just, they just really want to be like from Alabama.
It's like a weird version of that movie Galaxy Quest. They just see something and they just accept it as is.
Yeah.
Except it's not a sci-fi show, it's the South. Well, what is on the horizon for you two? There's a. I'll take it easy on you guys on this next question, or I maybe inadvertently made it harder.
Well, we've both been working really hard on this film, Scavengers of Stavanger. The next thing, I reckon with the timing and everything, we'll definitely be done this month, but the shooting days will be like just a few hours here and there each evening, all the way up until then, I think. Or like really not so much left, but we've been working loads on that one, and I haven't edited any of it, and we've been working on it since like March. So I'm really excited to watch the footage, because I was thinking about it earlier. I read some pages and I'm like, did we film that? I guess we did already. So there's like film of me saying this. Like, okay, I'll be interested to see that, how I did that. That's really nice. Then we've got Bo's film that we're making in August, hopefully. Sam got into acting school, which is awesome.
Hey.
So he'll be going there in like September and everything, but that means that like I'm going to try and finish a few projects that we have with him in August.
Cool.
And then I think I just want to like go stand on a mountain, stare at the sea, and think about mortality for 2 years. But probably get bored of that after a few hours, and then I'll come back and do something else.
Yeah. I'm going to do the same, stand on a mountain, stand at the sea, but I'll be playing a guitar solo.
About mortality.
At the same time, while an eagle circles.
Well, I might be asking you to rehash some because people should visit the STRAVANGER Film Club, the YouTube channel, because there's a lot of great videos.
For sure, yeah.
But advice for people, it's not even just film, advice for people who are where Tom was, who are where they've plateaued, they've maybe gotten what they want, or they haven't achieved it yet. They're actively wanting to seek it, but the last person that's standing in their way is themselves. What do you tell those people?
Well, if I can go first, I guess, like Tom, you said you were good at quitting things. I'm very good at grimly accepting things. I think maybe that's our good balance. So I had a thing recently where I was just like, I've just committed to this book that I'm editing right now.
Nice.
I've been working on it for like 5 months, and there was a point in the middle of the project where I was just like, who cares? Why did you spend so long on this? Like, nobody's going to want to read this. Like, nobody cares about it other than you. Why did you do this? And then the next day I was just like, well, you've come this far with it. For the love of God, just get it in shape, send it out there, see what happens.
Yeah.
Just really the thing that has made my life better in Stavanger is accepting that I'm a process engineer who lives in Stavanger. Like, you're not like the American, what's it John Steinbeck said about Americans, that they think they're temporarily inconvenienced millionaires. You're not one of those. You are what you are today. Make the best use of that. Be the best thing that you are right now. Imagine that you are in the place you're supposed to be and commit to it. So I was like, right, I'm going to make friends who live here. I'm going to make stuff with these people. And it wasn't the best when we started, but there was a joy in it being the best I'd ever made. So, and I think that's still my focus. And I would guess that's the focus of people at the very top also. So if you want to be at the very top, just do what they're doing, which is focus on making the next best thing. See what people think.
Yeah.
I like it.
I think for my part, what Leo said about writing his new novel, like nobody cares, and you can actually kind of take a great comfort in that when you're on a creative going through a creative process, like no one cares. That doesn't matter. What am I trying to say? It's like who don't worry about trying to impress anybody. And when you're trying to get to where you're going, you'll get lots of advice from lots of people, but always kind of have a good look at the person who's giving you the advice. And are they a filmmaker? Are they a musician? Are they a writer? Probably not, but I think in any creative art, it's something that everyone's seems to have an opinion on. Kind of, this is what you have to do. You have to move to Hollywood. You have to be in London, or you have to be in Oslo if you're in Norway. And kind of don't worry about any of those things. And also just get over that sense of like, what if I make something that's really shit and everyone thinks I'm an idiot and everyone thinks it's really dumb and people say like some of the things that can be the most cutting, like, well, anyone could have thought of that. Anyone could have wrote that. It's like, well, nobody else did. You did, even if it is kind of derivative or whatever.
The thing, like, that was me on an off day. I think when I thought that about the book, and I wanted to put that out there for sure, because as much as I can say like, yeah, we're motivated, we're making our own stuff. Like, we all have days where you're just like, I don't believe anything. I might listen to this podcast one day and be like, I don't agree with anything I said, like one day.
Yeah.
And then the next day I'll be like, oh yeah, okay, I'll get back to it, you know. But what do I want to say? My favorite writers, when I read their work, I'm like, do they even care that I'm reading this? Do they know that I'm reading this? They're so into their own thing, and I admire that. And it creates something really original. And when people are coming to me about making money and everything, I'll just go on like Wikipedia and look up my favorite films and whether or not they made their money back. And almost none of them did. So I was just like, we're obviously not. I appreciate people who are just really into their own thing. So when I'm able to do it, that's what I do, is just get really into it and hope that some of that interest that I have for spending so much time on the subject translates to the right people. Even if Tom says that there's 5 of them, you know, whatever. All of us have experienced stuff that really, as you go older, like really, it gives me an urgency, this feeling that my time is the most valuable resource I have. And so I have to use it now to make stuff now and get it out there while I'm here, and the message is vital to me, and I want that message to get out. And that's what this is really all about. Like, it just so happens to, I've always said about writing as well, it's like, you know, it's about getting your message out and that being found by the right people. Like, asterisk, some people make lots of money doing this. That's a nice factoid, you know, but it's not why I do it. And yeah, like Tom said, the amount of advice people have for you is amazing. I couldn't tell you any of the advice I've received now because it was so relevant, but I receive a lot of it. But and sometimes I'm convinced by it, and sometimes I go, maybe they've got a point, maybe I should start doing it this way. Then I realize that the reason they're even talking to me about it is because I've been doing things my way the whole time. And I go, well, I think I'll just keep doing that then.
I feel like me and Leo have this kind of in-joke when we're talking to people now. If someone ever suggests making a spreadsheet, like if someone's saying like you should have a spreadsheet with characters and locations and like create a matrix, so which characters have to be at which locations on which dates. Like me and Leo will just kind of give each other like a sideways glance, like kind of like, whoa, I've got a spreadsheet, guy. Whoa. It's all, like a red flag. Like,
it's really interesting, like the type of people, like you either totally vibe with them and they completely get what you're doing, or they absolutely don't, and there's like rarely anything in between. And it's like in every instance, like I managed to get permission for us to use a shop location for one of our scenes. And like I initially wanted to use 2 shops. And the first shop I went into, they were like, that sounds really cool. Yeah, of course you can come whenever you like. Come film, wherever. And the second place was like, I guess you can email our manager about it. And I was like, I'm not even gonna. So I just waited for the post-it. And I was like, I can just tell from your vibe that this is a no. So yeah, you just got to focus on your people, however many or few there are.
I think like one of my reasons for never looking back and kind of analyzing what I've done too much is kind of I only ever really regret things that I don't do. Like I don't really regret anything that I haven't really regretted much that I've done or decisions that I've actually made, because you know it doesn't help at all. It doesn't kind of you'd get nothing out of it analyzing too much, like, ooh, you know, did I make the wrong move at that point? And that hopefully like that's the one thing that I would say to convince people to do something, to make a film or to write a book or to record a bit of music. Like you know, there's a bigger risk in not doing it than just doing it and it being shit or whatever, or who cares.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. When do we get to watch Searching for VeslemØY here when is that coming out? Where we can all watch it?
I'm going to guess end of the year. What do you think, Tom?
I don't know, man. I would send them the link straight after this, but for everybody else...
yeah, that's fine. Yeah. DM us.
Yeah. If you contact Leo personally, and you can get a Vimeo link.
That's our business model.
I wish Scorsese would do something like that. Yeah, you want to see my movie?
Yeah.
Whoop. There you go.
You fly to Stavanger and come to my house, and you can watch it on my TV. charge them $10 a go. Fuck it. Yeah.
It's this new anti-cinema where we make it really hard to see the film.
Yeah.
I just managed to get.
Oh, you've got to meet me in a Starbucks and watch it on my phone. Sorry.
Cool. Nice.
Sorry to interrupt.
No. I was just going to say that I've got Burnt Portraits approved and queued up for for aggregation, which means it'll be available Amazon, Google Play, Apple TV, June 26th.
Okay.
And I did a whole series of videos about that you can watch on the channel. And it's interesting because this is what we were saying about not listening to anyone, is that there's unique information on that channel now about stuff that we've found unique ways of doing stuff that we just decided, okay, I'm going to personally learn how to get this done. And then we show other people how to do it. One of them is to get a film approved for aggregation. And why you should do that over... Video. Cheers, man. Why you should maybe want to pursue that instead of going for traditional distribution. So everything that I've learned about that is on there. And so all things going well later on in the year, because I think there's still a few festivals looking at VeslemØY now. Once it's finished its festival run, Tom and I will get together and pull some cash and get it aggregated later, now that I know how to do that. So I'm guessing it might be end of the year. But follow us on our social medias. If you're determined to pay for it, if you feel like getting a link, I'll send it to you, sure.
You should do it. It's also your very nice Truth or Net Apocalypse. I believe the entire film is available on your YouTube channel as well.
It is, with Tom's music and our writing and acting and everything. So please check that out. Yeah.
Well, geez, guys, I can't. I've been looking forward to this. You guys didn't disappoint.
Yeah,
this is amazing. Please hang around a few minutes after the credits. We'll do this whole spiel thing about playing us out and everything.
All right.
Any last words?
Just do
it. Just do it, guys.
Just do it.
I'm sure we won't be sued for that.
Yeah.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night.